to another episode of Unleashed with Eva. I know I've been gone for a minute. I haven't done an interview, one-on-one interview with anyone in the last 6 or 7 months. I know you've seen my sermons, you've seen the book release, but I have a better way to come back today. I have a guest today that you can find chatting with your favorite Hollywood actors, community activists, and entertainers on his media platforms. I am elated to welcome to the show today, LeTroy Gardner. LeTroy, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Eva. How are you?
I'm doing really good. I feel so blessed to have you as my guest on today. I still trying to remember, how did we meet? I know we have a connection to our mutual friend, Dr. Tyshawn Gardner in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. But I think, how did we initially connect?
We connected. So I had Dr. Tyshawn Gardner, who's actually my cousin. I had him on my show, Stop, Look, and Listen, and we were just discussing all of the amazing things he's been doing in the community. And he mentioned the Wallace Wilder case, in which he participated in a protest at the Pickens County Courthouse.
That's right.
So the way I am, if someone feeds me an opportunity for a future interview, then I act upon it. So he mentioned the Wallace Wilder case and how there was a lot of injustice involved and the family was seeking justice. And I reached out, well, I went on the Facebook page and found out Renata Harris, Wallace Wilder's niece, was involved and was interested in doing an interview. And I reached out and you was the contact person. And you got everything squared away and scheduled. And we did an interview with Renata and the family's attorney, Richard Rice.
Yes.
It was a great interview. It allowed me to step outside of, I wouldn't say my comfort zone, because I feel like I can interview anyone, but it was a different type of interview. And I was proud of it. Unfortunately, we didn't get the news that we desired, but I think it brought further awareness to the case.
Yes, and with cases like that, awareness is so, so important. And the one thing that you and I have in common is this love for media, this love for interviewing people. You know, a lot of times people go live on Facebook, and I could do that. People were telling me to use that as a medium to share about my book, but I prefer to interview other people and hear from other people. And so that's why I want to talk to you today. So I want you to tell us, briefly who you are, LeTroy.
Okay, well, first off, I'm just a humble guy that has a gift that I've probably hidden for a while. And you know how it is, like even growing up in the church, where a lot of times there's a kid that is shy and afraid to sing, and then once you put a microphone in their face, it's the best sound that you've ever heard. So I'll say I wear many hats. I'm employed by University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Work at the law library, but I'm also a media personality. I went to school for it, have my degree in mass communications. Got my start interning at a TV station in my hometown of Beaufort, South Carolina, WJWJ. And I was like 16 years old. And I was still sort of confused as to the path that I wanted to take in life. But I enjoyed watching Sports Center. And I felt like sports broadcasting was the path I would take. But then I also had a love for music and listening to radio stations and imitating the local disc jockeys. So I kind of had an idea that probably broadcasting would be what I would major in college. And, long story short, I just, experimented, interned, TV station, college radio. From that point, just branched out, used my creativity, networking skills, and we built a company called the GOB Radio Network.
GOB Radio Network. Tell me what that GOB stands for.
The good old boys.
The good old boys. Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So, my thing is purpose, talking about purpose. I've written a book about purpose. I love having discussions about purpose. Because I believe that everybody is created with a purpose in mind. But when you hear this statement, I want you to tell me immediately, what do you think about LeTroy when I say this statement? You were created with purpose in mind. What comes to you about LeTroy when I say that?
First off, I feel like my purpose was to, I guess, be a gift to others, because it seems like by nature I'm an unselfish person. So I've always been giving of others and making sure that, um, you know, they have a smile on their face, sometimes to the detriment of my own. So, yeah, definitely being giving of myself, whether that's working with kids with autism, whether that's working with my alumni association, um, participating in college fairs, kind of just sharing my experiences with upcoming freshmen, college students, um, being a mentor to young professionals, in the media field, or in law. So I just feel like there's different areas where maybe my personality, maybe I'm infectious and people just like to, be around me, and I just give off this warmth.
I think you're definitely infectious and you give off warmth. But tell me about this. So you said something that I didn't know. Do you volunteer with kids who have autism, or how does that part of your service to the world?
So I did that for 3 years, from 2015 to 2018. So I worked with specifically two young men. One was in high school and ended up um, graduating, and we still work together in his first year in college. And then another one that was in community college, and then as he began to um, branch out as an adult. So with that, we pretty much just worked on life skills, whether that's going to the gym, going to restaurants and placing orders independently, going to the library, picking out a book, reading it, assisting with homework, um, helping them talk to girls. Just a little bit of everything that we take for granted.
Yeah.
Those are skills that they're learning, and I was there. I pretty much became part of their families. With their parents and siblings, they treated me as if I was, part of the family.
That's
It was.
beautiful. That's beautiful. I think, we have a young lady at church who's our worship leader. Her name is Jasmine, which is interesting. I know you have a connection to Tuscaloosa. She lives in Tuscaloosa. She teaches in Tuscaloosa, and she's gifted around teaching kids with exceptionalities. And that's
Mhm.
her thing. And she's so passionate about it. She posts about it. She did videos this summer, created a YouTube channel, while we were in the middle of COVID. And I just think it takes a special gift and a special love for God, from God, to actually take that on as your mission, and find ways to mentor and ways to teach kids with exceptionalities and adults with exceptionalities. And so that, when you said that, I immediately started seeing Jasmine's face. But I want you to talk to me a little bit. How did you get from this LeTroy, that's the high school student, the college student, to the person that is co-hosting and co-producing a show that is heard all the way in England, Germany, and Japan? How did you get there? How did that even unfold?
Um, so I'll even go a step further to when I was a little kid. I
Okay.
was I was like 3 or 4 years old. Um, I would be in my grandfather's den, and he would have his 45s. Um, but I wasn't listening to them. I was like rolling them across the carpet to see which one would go the furthest. So that was like my first soiree into I guess, having my hands on music. But then my great grandfather, he owned like a hole in the wall club. And because of my situation, single parent household, um, I would have to stay at various relatives' homes while my mom worked. And sometimes I would be at my Aunt Perla May's house. And my great grandfather, um, his his hole in the wall club was right outside. So sometimes I would be around him, and of course there's people shooting pool and drinking and playing cards and everything that you would expect in the hole in the wall club. But I would be in there as well as like 4 or 5 year old kid, and I'd be in there on the pool table, like drinking grape soda, eating chips, and just soaking in everything. Um, and of course, the music was infectious. So I think that was my first experience. That's when I started to fall in love with music. Then you just take it on until I was like 13 or 14 years old, and I would create mixtapes off of songs I would hear off the radio or off the television. So if Rap City is on, I'm taping like Notorious B.I.G. songs or Mobb Deep or Ice Cube or Scarface, Outkast, my favorite hip hop group, and I would just start putting together mixtapes. And then as my personal music collection continued to increase, then I would figure out ways to create mixtapes off my CD collection. And while I was at Winthrop University in college, some of my friends would be requesting like personal mix CDs, whether it was slow jams or hip hop or instrumentals, because we would be in our dorm rooms. I can't freestyle a serve a lick, but some of my friends could rap, so I would supply the beats so they could freestyle, and that turned into me doing 3 radio shows while I was at Winthrop. The Dungeon, which was a hip hop show, the Bedroom, which was the Quiet Storm show, and then my senior year, I created the Good Old Boys.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what I'm hearing you talk about your purpose and how it impacted the people around you,
Mm-hmm.
right? One of the things I say or think that, our purpose is not just for us, even though we have to focus on ourselves for a minute and take a deep dive within and start to seeing the things that we're passionate about. But ultimately, our purpose impacts a collective or a community or a group in a positive way in order for it to truly be purposeful. So I want you to talk about that a little bit. I know you talked about, you would supply the beats for them to freestyle, but in what other ways have you seen your purpose connected to, media, how it has been able to bless and inspire and benefit the greater good in others?
Um, so with the Good Old Boys show in particular, we have over the years, which we started the Good Old Boys show, myself, Mario Washington, and Kimberly Shaw back in 2004. And after I graduated, because I was the youngest one, it was pretty much shelved. And then in 2009, we brought it back. So since 2009, it's been myself, Mario, is continued to be a part of the show. And then we added Quentin Gore and Wafik Zarif. So it's the 4 of us. And we've done all types of shows. We've done shows on depression. We've done shows on teenage pregnancy, on like growing up without a father, dealing with that, on how to be a stepfather. We've done shows on dealing with drug and alcohol abuse. You name it. We pretty much tackled it, and of course the relationship topics too. We've done shows on entrepreneurship and financial literacy. With Stop, Look, and Listen, yeah, we've discussed prison reform. We had a guest on the show, Lester Young, who served over 20 years in prison for murder, and while he was incarcerated, he created a nonprofit organization, Path to Redemption. And since he's been released, he's been doing amazing things. I had the Beaufort County Black Chamber of Commerce from my hometown on, and they were just talking about home ownership and small business grants, just opportunities to better enhance your quality of living. So I just feel like providing information and then, not hiding from my personal truth. I'm not afraid to talk about my truth at all. So people can relate to that.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Now, recently I've seen that you interviewed, I know I saw, was it Vivian Green?
Yes.
You interviewed Phylicia Rashad. I want to talk about, what does it feel like to sit down with those people that we kind of see far off from afar and to be able to just have a one-on-one conversation with people who have achieved certain levels around their passions in life? What does that feel like for you? What does that do for you when you interview them?
I mean, honestly, when I talk to them, I come to the realization that we have more in common than you would ever expect. They grew up just like us with a dollar and a dream, as J. Cole would say. And with hard work and perseverance, they were able to achieve the unimaginable. And like, especially from a creator's perspective, you just have to be put in a position to harness those gifts, and you never know who's watching or paying attention and who can bless you. So you just continue to push forward, and eventually someone will notice, what you're bringing to the table.
Yeah, yeah, I've took the time to go and watch those interviews, and I encourage everybody to go out to the Good Old Boys. Well, this is Stop, Look, and Listen, right? That
Right.
they were on. Can you tell us how to find Stop, Look, and Listen on all of your mediums?
Okay, so Stop, Look, and Listen is available. For one, it's a video podcast, so it's available on our YouTube channel, which is GOB Radio Network TV. We also have an audio only version that's available on our website, www.gobradionetwork.com. It can also be found on Apple if you prefer to listen to it on the Apple app, GOB Radio Network. As far as the Good Old Boys radio show, you can also find us on Spotify, iHeart, Stitcher. Mixcloud is the only provider that plays the music version. So it's a 2-hour episode with music that's related to the topic we're discussing. We're also on Amazon and Pandora. So
Awesome.
you can pretty much find us everywhere.
Everywhere. Now, when I read your bio, it said these great things that we've heard about you already today, earlier in the show. But it says, stay tuned for what's next. Can you share what's next for LeTroy?
I'll just say the sky's the limit.
I love it.
I'm not sure what's next for me. I'm gonna leave that in the Lord's hands, because a year ago this time, the idea of Stop, Look, and Listen was being discussed between me and Mario.
Yes.
But it wasn't going to be executed the way it has been executed.
Mm-hmm.
One, now this might surprise you. Before I started doing Stop, Look, and Listen back in May, the last time I had conducted a solo interview probably was in high school. So early on with the Good Old Boys radio show, we had interviews within 6 months. I think the first interview we had was Crystal Waters. So that was back in 2009. And up until about 2015, we had celebrity interviews consistently every week. But Mario did them all. I would book all of the interviews, and sometimes me and him would tag team, but it was primarily him. And then eventually we just decided to stop doing them because of his schedule and just the difficulties of squeezing in interviews that would fit his schedule and the artist. So it was just something that we decided to pull the plug on.
Now, in any way, with Stop, Look, and Listen, has COVID, our being, virtual, has that assisted in any way in your viewers and the audience that you're reaching?
Um, I'll say the being able to do Zoom interviews has allowed us to um, do interviews that we probably wouldn't have done. There's no way I would have been able to interview Phylicia Rashad unless it was during Zoom. I mean, during COVID, to get her on Zoom. But I mean, because otherwise we would have had to either do a phone interview or we would have had to do it in person.
And just to see her infectious smile on the screen, like, to me, that just makes for a better interview.
Right. So I'll say interviewing her was a piece of cake because it wasn't really an interview. We were just relating to my hometown because she loves my hometown so much. So we were just sharing stories about Beaufort, South Carolina, St. Helena Island. But I'll say the interview that I was most nervous about was Don Robinson from En Vogue.
Oh, wow.
And I mentioned it early on in the interview. I was like, I actually have butterflies in my stomach right now. Part of the reason was because I know her reputation, so I didn't know what to expect, because I'm the type where I don't like to cheat my audience. So I'm going to ask the questions that need to be asked. So I wasn't sure how she was going to respond to it.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. I just love, I know I'm passionate about media and interviewing people, and I love meeting people. I love interviewing people who are passionate about the same things that I'm passionate about, because it's just a different energy. And I think when you were talking about that team dynamic, working with other people that are just as passionate about you, like when you were doing the shows with other people, that energy can be so high. You can get so much done if everybody's operating kind of on that same level of passion. So I just think that's beautiful. I think there's beautiful. Is there anything else you would want our listeners, the Unleash with Eva viewers and our audience, to know about LeTroy Gardner?
I think that I will encourage, everyone to align themselves with the right team, people that are in your corner, that's supportive, that prays for you. I mean, because no matter how successful you are or whatever you accomplish in life, you're going to have moments where you need your prayer warriors. You're going to need people that are going to strengthen you in times where you're down. So make sure you have the right people in your corner. Stay persistent, never give up. If what your goal needs is research or education, follow that path. If it requires networking and paying your dues, then do that. Whatever it takes. The last thing I ever want to do is be one of those people 60, 70 years old sitting around wondering what could have been. I want to at least give my all to accomplish whatever I would like to attain. At least saying at the end, I gave my best.
I love that. I love that. So you guys, there you have it, Mr. LeTroy Gardner. We've been grateful to just interview, to talk to you. And on behalf of the listeners of Unleashed with Eva, on behalf of myself, thank you so much for giving us your time on today.
All right. Thank you, Eva. It was a pleasure to be on the other side of the microphone. So it's different. I'm used to asking questions, not answering them.
The seed of purpose is within us. But are you giving it enough light and water to grow? Sometimes we have too many objects in frame, making it hard to focus. We let detrimental relationships get in the way. Or we leave our joy out to be stolen by comparing our lives to what we see on our phone screens. Who are you? Why are you here? These are the questions the Creator wants to help us answer. On our self-discovery journey to finding our purpose, God leaves us clues, breadcrumbs. If we can silence the noise and take a closer look at our lives, our relationships, our gifts, we'll see they're all breadcrumbs leading us like the North Star to our purpose.